but in Hebrews chapter 10, I sometimes think about this. You sort of have you get towards the end of the letter, and it's more sort of about sort of like encouragement to the people who are being addressed there, whoever they are, perhaps people in Italy, although it's a bit unclear. But there's this wonderful bit in verse 24 where the writer says, "Let us consider how to provoke one another to love and good deeds," and it's that bit sort of like provoking one another. I mean, and it's quite an unusual Greek word there. That it's like a paroxysmon of love, which, I mean, it's really hard to sort of pick that up. I mean, yeah, I mean, those, if you've got any listeners who are more medically inclined, perhaps they might sort of be familiar with the language of a paroxysm, like a fit or an outburst. But I think it's sort of like a really sort of intense love. I mean, I sometimes feel quite sort of challenged by that, sort of going into church and encouraging people with like a paroxysm of love. I think that's that's quite challenging when I'm sleepy on a Sunday morning and wandering into church, and it's like, oh no, I'm to love these people sort of with sort of real sort of emotional intensity.
Yeah, or when it gets difficult, or if people are bothering you, because we're all people, and even in God's kingdom, there's sometimes we don't understand our brothers and sisters always.
Sure, yeah.
But we are still called to love them with that kind of love. Yeah. So it's definitely a challenge, but
it is a challenge. But we've got a good template from Hebrews, and and I love that sort of the paroxysm of love. I don't really know any translations which have taken it in that way, but
that is sort of like provoking each other to love each other. Provocative love, maybe.
Yeah. That's I guess that's what it comes to mean, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or how can we put it in language that sort of like exemplifies that? Is maybe exemplifies that sort of an all embracing love, or
sort of like always vitalized, and always it can't sort of be snuffed out. That's the way, I mean, that's language is used, isn't it? Sort of don't quench the spirit. I mean, that's an unusual Greek verb that's used there, that I think it's something like spend nemi, but we'll let that pass us by. But I think it's the only the paroxysms, it might come up somewhere in Acts, but it's a pretty rare word. But
there's quite a few rare words in Hebrews.
There sure are. Yeah,
so I've been reading through Hebrews recently, quite times. That's the vocabulary seems to challenge me a little bit here.
You're not alone, Daniel. It's I think that's good for listeners to hear, isn't it? That even those of us who have spent quite a few years studying the Bible can still find it hard to pick our way through passages in Hebrews and Acts.
Yeah. So there's definitely, but there's so much rich, and I've not read Hebrews enough, and I was on the last episode I was talking to George Godfrey about actually how Hebrews is constructed, and that seems to be that idea of invigorating Christologies, like our view of Christ and our view of who he is and his mission is important for theology, for endurance. And then there is this sort of like terror, joy over that comes up again and again in Hebrews, that the people who rejected God and did not enter into his kingdom, they got a punishment for that. But the people who reject Christ will give an even bigger punishment than them. But those who receive it will receive an even bigger blessing than those people who received the land originally.
Yeah, interesting.
And that topic comes up again and again. First it is like the angels, and then there's that, and then the high priestness again, and then we get into the latter chapters, and it becomes an exhortation to love, for example, and to trust, and then all the examples of people who have trusted God in very difficult circumstances.
Yeah, and that list like culminates with Jesus, doesn't it? That sort of is like the whole setup for chapter 12. Yeah.
And then an amazing encouragement to faith, like trust. You have not, like a faith that actually costs something. It talks about you have not strived in your faith that it cost blood.
Yeah, and it must have been such a disorientating time for them as well. The people receiving that letter, particularly if Hebrews is after 70, which kind of inclined to think that it is. I've been reading a little bit into that lately. If you're wondering where the temple's gone and how you carry on sort of worshipping, but with Jesus as Messiah, it must have been a pretty sort of destabilizing time. But then there are obviously like there's a lot at stake at that early time in the like Jesus movement or early Christianity.
So there's definitely we didn't talk dating with George, we were more like talking about the theology, because that's what he
that's a bit more surer to
exactly. And also it's what we have, and it's what's important first of all. Obviously it can have an implication of how the first receivers of the letter was reacting to it, depending on which particular time they received it. So it's not to be neglected. But it was not Hebrews we were supposed to talk about today. So
it's always there lurking in the background somewhere, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. We should spend more time in the church looking at Hebrews, generally speaking. Thank you for watching this clip. If you enjoyed it, you can find another one by clicking just over here. Or if you want to watch the full episode and dive a step deeper, you can find a link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.